over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land. We'll get to the promised land.
Romans killing riotous groups that are rising up.
As I turned around quickly, and the next thing I saw was Malcolm falling back in a dead faint.
Killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
Dr. King left his room, 306, at the Lorraine Hotel just before dinner to get some air. He walked over to the railing at this spot, and noticing some friends below, he leaned over and began to speak with them. Police say 205 feet away, in a window in a flop house, the assassin waited.
Killing any potential threat, any potential Messiah.
And Rob, some call that deadly raid the massacre on Monroe Street. Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed. Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed.
Brothers and sisters, they are there. We are not lost. We are scattered. We are original Hebrew.
Let's go! All praises be to the Most High God. Yeah, I say it.
I was opportune to meet my grandparents, whom from childhood had always made us to understand that we are one of the lost tribes of Israel. Okay. So from my grandmother.
Right? Now look at these. Yeah, I'm telling you, I gotta show y'all. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Just look for yourself. And this is the creme de la creme. All praises be to the Most High, y'all. Everything we've been through, y'all, the Most High is going to retribute it on all the nations that have had a hand in the oppression of his apple, the apple of his eye, his chosen people, his beloved, his fervent lover, his only begotten. They're going to have their part in the lake of fire. You see them tormented by some kind of creature. I don't even know what that even is, y'all. Judgment in chains. He that led into captivity shall go into captivity. All praise to the Most High, Yah. What's up, Zion Dynasty? This is your favorite dreaded Israelite, the man, the myth, and the legend, Mr. JBZion. Y'all show me some love. Show me some love. Let's go. Yoruba Benai Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph. Welcome back to the channel, family. Welcome back to Zion Dynasty, where yours truly, I'm back in the fringe of about to hit y'all with another banger. All glory, honor, dominion, power, majesty, world without end to the mighty one of Jacob, Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, the Redeemer of the children of Israel, the Resurrector of the dry bones of Ezekiel, Yahweh, our faithful Father that ain't forgot about his babies, ain't forgot about his firstborn, ain't forgot about the apple of his eye, the saints of the Most High, the chosen generation, the royal priesthood. All praises be to the Most High, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. And first, family, y'all already know what time it is. I gotta say peace, love, blessings, and Israelite power to each and every one of my Israelite kings, Israelite queens, my Israelite brothers and sisters, of whom without y'all we could not do this work. I love y'all. Y'all, we going in on this thing. We got Satan quivering in his boots, the spirit and the people. Yes! Because of this work, and I could not thank y'all enough. Me and Shani D, we labor for these lessons. Y'all keep us motivated. Y'all keep us encouraged despite the doubters. And then I want to say greetings to all y'all frenemies that got your Inspector Gadget goggles on, that's getting on here just to, oh, that's what these Israelites talking about. But roll it.
That's what these Israelites talking about. Well, you know, Israel don't know whosoever will, let them come.
Hey, yo, y'all Israel now. Oh, y'all black folks, oh, y'all Jews, we was kings. Oh, y'all think y'all was Jews, now you Jewish.
And legalism and, these Israelites trying to turn us back to the law of Moses. And neither Jew nor Greek, world without end, that don't matter. Just talking about whosoever will call upon the name of Christ will be saved. For God so loved the world. Well, JB, we ain't saying he didn't came, we just saying he was rainbow. He came for all colors. Don't nobody really know what he looked like.
They saying, well, you can't use Deuteronomy Deuteronomy 28.
Even though it says we're gonna go into a country as swift as the eagle flies.
Oh no, you can't use that.
Even though it says we're gonna have a yoke of iron around our neck, you can't use that. That's been fulfilled. Even though it says you're gonna go into slavery again on slave cargo ships, oh, that's already been fulfilled. And I'm like, Negro. But to all those faithful, sincere, loving, encouraging sojourners of Zion, all those Gentiles that got their faith like Rahab the harlot, they got their faith like the Syrophoenician woman, all of those Gentiles not lost in the goon squad sauce madness that support the Most High Yah, that truly love the Most High, that truly love the Father by supporting his children, awakening in captivity, and turning back to our history and heritage. I love each and every one of y'all as well. I send Israelite blessings to you, your family, everybody around you, and everything that you touch. So family, welcome back your boy on 10, Yoruba Benai Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph, i.e. son of Jacob and Israelite. Let's go. We finna go in, family. So first, if you guys would like, comment, share, subscribe, share this video with as many people as you know, and to all y'all that ain't subscribed yet, what are you doing? What are you doing? All you gotta do is just smash that subscribe, smash that, turn the post notifications on. You don't wanna miss this. We dropping bangers every day. We dropping that Harvard research. We dropping that Oxford credibility. We dropping them Cambridge sources. We dropping the DNA evidence, the 23andMe, the My True Ancestry, to prove to all the naysayers and doubters that we, in fact, the so-called black, two continent slaps together like a lonely sandwich, are in fact the biblical descendants of the children of Israel. And the Most High said, I'm gonna bless those that bless you and curse everybody that comes against this awakening. And come on, Jay, I gotta deal with it, because there's a lot of folks on here, they think they doing Most High's will by attacking Israel. I ain't never seen that story end well for y'all, my guy. Oh my, I ain't never seen when the nations come against y'all's people, the things end favorably for them. In Egypt, we saw how that ended. In Babylon, the Medes, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, every time a nation arose against the Most High's people, he always vowed to bring judgment, to bring vengeance, despite what our people have done. Because y'all, we have been a wicked people, but the Most High said, for my own name's sake, oh my goodness, for my own name's sake, I'm not gonna forget about my people. I'm gonna get them back to the land that I promised to Abraham. In Deuteronomy 11:21, he said it's gonna be like the days of heaven on earth when I return the captivity of Zion back to the land that I swore to their forefathers. We saw Peter say, Yahushua, Father, Master, are you going to get us back to that land? Are you going to restore the kingdom back unto Israel? Yahushua said, just wait a little bit. Though I tarry, wait on it. Because in the last days, a lot of us are like, Father, when you going to do it? He has not forgot about his children. And all these nations that's doing Satan work, he got your number. He got it wrote down. Them angels coming, shooters on sight, them UFO chariots, them angels with the four faces. They coming to execute vengeance and to regather from the four winds of heaven the diaspora of God's people that, as we know, were scattered because of the curses of Deuteronomy 28. So y'all subscribe, y'all like this thing up. This is the channel where we go into that prophecy, we go into this history, we go into the archaeology, the DNA, everything, y'all. We deal with it on Zion Dynasty. So also, if you guys want to support this work, I'm going to put that Cash App up, that P.O. Box, all of that great stuff. Also, the Sefer, y'all, we getting close, family. We getting close where we're going to announce that first wave of those that win that Sefer. And I'm going to reach out to you guys, message you guys, so you guys can follow up with me via email so I can get you guys the shipping and all that stuff, so I can get those out to you guys. So y'all, I'm excited. So family, we're going into it. On that last video, y'all check that thing out. Judas and the Black Messiah, the spirit of the anti-Messiah. We looked at a little black history. We looked at J. Edgar Hoover, the residing director of the FBI initiative known as COINTELPRO. We looked at that recent movie. I forget the guy's name from Get Out. He's been in all this stuff, right? He portrays Fred Hampton, who I believe is the president of the North Carolina chapter of the Black Panthers, right? And they go into the history of, I forget that Intel guy's name, the guy that went in to infiltrate, right? Under the initiative of the United States government and the FBI. We saw that J. Edgar Hoover himself said the greatest threat to America was Negro unity and our people coming back together. y'all gotta understand, we looked at an ancient prophecy. We looked at an ancient prophecy going all the way back to the time of Rebecca, where it was prophesied to Rebecca that there were two nations in her womb and that they would be warring till the end of time. And understand, family, they both could not exist in the same estate. That when Esau had his lords, we would have our prophets. When we had our kings, they would be humbled down to princes, right? That they both could not exist in rulership. Their two world views would be contrary one to another, until the end comes where the Most High smashes the kingdoms of this world, destroys the statue of Babylon, the statue that Daniel saw, the four beasts that's going to rule the earth, before he ends all the nations and the Gentile rulership and establishes our people. World without end, Yoruba and Ephraim. So we saw that there will be a battle between this Big Mama, this love spirit, where if Aunt Sally had Kool-Aid and Big Mama had the sugar, the whole village drunk a glass. That mindset of family, that African Hebraic Judean sentiment versus this critical race theory-based haves and have-nots, destroying a people and building a world superpower off of the backs of that people, there would be a contrary worldview. One would be Torah. One would be loving the Most High, honoring the land, honoring humanity. The other one will be exploitation, capitalism, the haves and the have-nots, a scapegoat society. And we see that the greatest threat to that European construct was our people coming back together, coming back to our heritage, the hearts of the fathers going back to the children turning back to the history and the prophecies of their ancestors, that would be the greatest threat to America. So we see that this spirit is an old spirit. That J. Edgar Hoover vow spirit, I showed you guys is Josephus's work in Antiquities. It is book 9, section 2, where Pharaoh was told by the magicians that a leader would arise to bring down the Egyptian superpower, because during that time in antiquity, Egypt was what America is today. And that same spirit of plotting to destroy and keep a people slaved in their minds out of fear of the king that will come out of them, that same spirit, Herod, the great red dragon, we talked about that. Y'all check those videos out. Herod, the king of Judea, who was a chocolate Edomite, also had that same mindset. He tried to get the wise men to tell him where Yahushua was, Hamashiach, that I might worship him. Tell me where he is. And then the angel said, do not tell Herod where the man-child is, for he seeks to slay the babe. And the three wise men took heed, and they said, well, we don't know what happened to him. And Herod said, I will kill all of them then. And Herod goes on a rampage and kills every man-child of Judea from 2 years old and younger in Bethlehem Ephratah. He goes on a rampage, slaughtering all these. There was a bunch of weeping spiritually and naturally for all the man-childs of our people that they destroyed. Y'all, this is a spirit. Pharaoh did the same thing. Told the Hebrew man babies to throw their children in the water. So y'all, we saw in that last video that this spirit has been set up to keep our people divided and to keep a leader from arising, talking about the unity of y'all's people. Now, in today's video, y'all, oh man, drum roll please, me brother. We're about to go into, y'all been messaging about this, y'all been saying, JB, where that follow-up, the TV series, then we about to deal with it, y'all. We're about to deal with that Amazon Prime TV series. If y'all have not seen it, check that thing out. Them has so many layers, family, that connects to our people's freedom. And we're gonna have the whole foundation of this discussion based on integration versus segregation, the dilemma for Zion. How should we go about this thing, right? Now, y'all already know, y'all probably have seen other videos. You already know how I feel about this topic. But we're going to explore Dr. King's ideology, the spirit behind why he did what he did, and is that the move? We're going to bring up Black Wall Street a little bit, because them exploits that question of are our people really meant to coexist in a land of captivity amongst our oppressors? Now, some people say, well, if you look at Joseph, Joseph was raised up in captivity and became the vizier. If you look at Daniel, Daniel had an excellent spirit, right? Where the president, the king, Nebuchadnezzar, rose him up in prominence, even in the Babylonian occupation. So we see both ideologies. We even see with Queen Esther. Well, Esther, during the Medo-Persian era, was raised up because of her beauty. She became in an alliance with that government via marriage and was able to deter a decree to destroy the Judeans. And I think, I forget the guy's name, Hermes, or it was a certain guy during the time, y'all read that in the book of Esther, that was trying to get a campaign going to genocide the Judean people. And because Esther was in a position of leadership, even in captivity, she was able to thwart that agenda by the grace of the Most High Yah. Y'all better hear what I'm saying. So there is an argument for both perspectives. We're going to look at the movie Them, and we're going to break that thing down, and we're going to talk about these issues about free Zion, free Judea. So let's jump into it, y'all. I'm going to show you that clip of the TV series Them, and we're going to chop that thing down. Let's get it, Zion Dynasty style. Let's go.
You'll never look at eating pie the same way after watching Them, Amazon Prime's latest horror original about a black family's struggle moving into a predominantly white neighborhood in the 1950s. Did I mention there's demons? In this video, we'll be taking a deep dive into its ending, explaining its many ghosts, and how one event over 100 years ago shaped the course of the Emery family's 10-day descent into madness. But before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that I am a white Canadian, and that's pretty white. And this show deals with sensitive subject matter involving race, American history, and sexual assault. So if I make a mistake or miss something, please let me know in the comments. The final episode is called Day 10, the final day of this 10-episode series, which documents the Emery family's move from Chatham County, North Carolina to Compton, California in 1953. This was part of what historians have called the Great Migration, which saw millions of African Americans fleeing the Jim Crow South in search of a better life. You might be asking yourself, isn't Compton a predominantly black neighborhood? Well, not in the 1950s. In fact, many neighborhoods at the time had racist covenants stating that only Caucasians can buy, sell, and live in certain neighborhoods, but these were later deemed illegal. That's what Lucky later reads when she finds the contract for the sale of her house. Season 1 is called Them Covenant, named after one of these, which in this context has a double meaning. A covenant is also what the man in the black hat makes with the devil in episode 9, but we'll get to that in a bit. The show's central story is partly inspired by the life of Emery Hestis Holmes, a World War II veteran, doctor, and civil rights leader who, like Henry and his family, moved to a predominantly white neighborhood in the 1950s. The Emery family is named after him, and Henry, like Emery, was also a World War II veteran. However, they changed his career to engineer in the show. Many of the tactics used by the white neighbors to scare off the Emerys were inspired by real-life incidents. Nat King Cole, for example, had his dog poisoned and racial insults burned on his lawn, just like the Emerys experience. The last episode, however, doesn't begin with the Emerys, rather Betty Wendell, the racist bitch you just want to punch in the face. She's getting her just desserts.
Someone order lemon meringue?
It's after asking George, the guy who used to play Jason Stackhouse in True Blood, to take care of her new black neighbors, but in so doing gets kidnapped and stuck in his underground bunker, as you do. Perhaps Betty's hatred of others spawns from her own situation. This isn't meant to humanize and justify her racist behavior, but to contextualize it. She has a husband who steals money behind her back to frequent gay bars. She doesn't have a child, the thing she wants more than anything else, but we aren't sure if that's because of her husband or something far more nefarious. In episode 4, we have an extremely creepy interaction between Betty and her father Otto, in which the show heavily implies she was molested by him as a child. Now, I watched this scene several times, and here are the clues. Betty hasn't seen her family in years. In fact, she's estranged from them, including her sister, who we only see in these photos. This estrangement is never explained. Her mother tells her,
"I wish to God you'd never come back here, Betty."
Whatever Betty was a part of has caused a rift in the family. This is followed by her mother handing her 2 towels, not one, as her father draws a bath for her. But he himself also starts taking off his clothes. The father purposely waits on writing the check for her until after this event. We see Betty visibly distraught, and the fact Betty tells her father she and Clark can't have kids adds to the mystery that she may may be unable because of the molestation she endured as a child. Betty breaks down in one scene, ripping apart the wallpaper in her home. She, like the wallpaper, exhibits a fake exterior, hiding the hurt and ugly underneath. When she escapes George's bunker, which he left open for her, he shoots her with his rifle to die like an animal among the cows. Ironic, since she and the neighbors refer to the Emorys as animals, now she'll die like one. We get a brief dream sequence with Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong's song Dream a Little Dream playing in the background. We never actually see them, but this is the Emorys' car moving into the new neighborhood with everyone watching in disdain, holding up signs like Keep Compton White. Betty and Sergeant Bull Wheatley are still alive here, hammering home the fact this is not reality. This is a dream of Lucky Emery, who in episode 8 finds herself in a mental hospital. At the end of episode 7, it was discovered Lucky had been keeping the decaying body of her baby in a wooden box in the basement. Lucky has been unable to let go of her child both physically and emotionally, and this inability to let go is what allows Hiram Epps, also known as the Man in the Black Hat, to easily control and manipulate her. It's only until she's let go that she's able to defeat him. But in order to really understand how this works, we have to analyze two key events from the past: Hiram's deal with the devil, and Lucky's loss of her child. Back during the Civil War, sometime between 1861 and 65, Hiram Epps lost his wife and child. He was a devout Christian, asking God why he would do this to him. But God doesn't answer. Instead, he finds a young boy, Miles, who he takes in as his own. What he doesn't know is that Miles is the devil. If you rewatch the episode, you'll see how it was Miles the whole time influencing Hiram into eventually turning the entire town against a traveling black couple, a couple he first welcomed with open arms and later deemed to be in possession of black magic. It's Miles who actually picks out the pieces of scripture that Hiram later uses to justify their killing. As the saying goes, the devil can cite scripture for his purpose. But the deaths of the couple goes horribly wrong. Before she's killed, Martha curses the town and later the buildings erupt in flame. Miles leads Hiram to safety in the basement where he reveals his many forms. The devil, after all, has the ability to shapeshift. Here he explains,
I've answered when he kept silent.
While God didn't answer Hiram, the devil did, and he offers Hiram everlasting life in exchange for a covenant or agreement. Here we see the devil's old wrinkled hand shaking with Hiram. Hiram must make life a living hell and inflict endless suffering to what the devil calls them, which is also the title of the series, them referring to black people. But how can he do that? What's the secret to inflicting the most amount of pain? As the devil explains,
A wound in the heart is like a door. You walk through the door and break their hearts from the inside.
And the person with arguably the most wounded heart is Lucky, which is why he is so easily able to control her. In episode 5, we learn that Lucky was raped while her baby boy was brutally murdered. It was this event that caused the family to move to Compton, the exact location where Hiram's town burned to the ground. At the end of episode 9, we get this transition from the 1800s to 1953, suggesting that the Emery's home sits atop, or at least close to, the church where dozens were killed in the fire. This is why Hiram's haunting only occurred when they arrived in Compton and not before. The town Hiram and his community lived in was known as Eidolon, which has a double meaning. 1, an idealized person or thing, and 2, a specter or phantom, both of which apply here. Hiram manifests himself in different ways for each member of the Emery family. For Gracie, it's a stern teacher character from her book called Miss Vera. It's only when Gracie realizes Miss Vera isn't real and tears up the pages of the book that Miss Vera literally tears apart. For Ruby, Hiram takes the form of Doris, a young white girl who tries to convince Ruby that her blackness makes her ugly and therefore she should strive to be white. This coincides with her promise to never grow up to be like her mother, a mother she saw going crazy after the death of her brother, and culminates in covering her body in white paint and cheerleading in front of her all-white school at the pep rally. Finally, there's the tap dance man, as he's known in the credits, credits, a man covered in blackface who incessantly taunts Henry into doing violent things. Hiram is able to manifest and take control of Henry through him because of the tremendous guilt Henry feels for not being there to protect his wife and child when they were attacked. If Henry hadn't taken Gracie and Ruby to the movies that day, maybe none of this would ever have happened. This is why the tap dance man keeps saying the line, "What you gonna do?" taunting him to do something and take charge since he's been so helpless in the past. The tap dance man reiterates that Henry wasn't able to protect his family that day, but tonight he can, implying that by killing them he will set them free. It's Lucky who eventually snaps Henry out of his daze after escaping the mental hospital, and Henry ends up spending his last bullet killing the tap dance man, wiping away his face paint to reveal a white man. Blackface became popular after the Civil War as white performers would put on makeup to demean and dehumanize African Americans, and in this particular instance it was a white man, Hiram, who performed as Henry's black manifestation. Although it's not Hiram himself who appears while the makeup is taken off, this is meant to be more of a metaphor. With the family's house surrounded by flame, cops, and angry townsfolk, Lucky ventures into the basement by herself for one final confrontation with the devil's minion. He, like her, knows the pain of losing a child and offers her the one thing she wants more than anything else: to be together with her son in a place where there is no pain or suffering. He shows her the child, but this trick doesn't work for long. Lucky realizes her boy is gone and that Hiram has spent all this time trying to blind them from seeing themselves when it is he who is the one who is blind. Not only physically, but spiritually. In episode 9, we learned his eyesight was failing him the more he spent time with Miles, and as we see, pardon the pun, his actions diverge from Christ's message of love. As Hiram loses his power over Lucky, we see how things start to move in reverse, like the flames here, his deal with the devil, and even his body turns from decayed to somewhat normal. The power that was giving him everlasting life is leaving him as he was unable to keep his covenant with the devil. He was unable to kill this family as he had done with dozens of families before them. Throughout the season, we learned of several black families coming to the area and experiencing horrific tragedies. We saw Arnett Bowman douse her husband and child in bleach, or how Ella Mae Johnson chopped up her kids and husband. It was Hiram who was responsible for this. It's how he sustained himself. But with him failing, he literally is set aflame in hellfire as the family makes their way outside. Although they are surrounded by an angry mob of white people and police with their guns raised, Nina Simone's Young, Gifted, and Black plays in the background, the last shot of the season being of young Gracie. Even though the ending is dire, I couldn't help but think there's a glint of hope here. So where does the show go from here? Amazon has greenlit season 2, but since this is an anthology series similar to American Horror Story, it's likely we'll have an entirely new setting, time period, and cast for season 2.
So family, I'm telling y'all, that thing is eerie, it's dark, it's powerful, it's profound, it's all of these things. Y'all check that series out, right? I tried to take some of the clips and kind of put them in here for y'all to see, but as soon as I tried to screen record on my MacBook, they shut the image down, y'all. So some of these clips I'm gonna show y'all is the audio only, just so you can kind of hear some of the conversations that are had in this series. But I'm telling y'all, y'all gotta check that thing out because it explores our oppression. It goes into the Great Migration, that history during the time period of 1916 to 1953, where it is estimated that over 6 million African Americans migrated from the rural South to areas like the Northeast, not just that, but the West, the Midwest, the West being like California and Compton. Now, a lot of y'all know about Straight Outta Compton and that kind of thing, and y'all already know that it's Black City, right? You just know Compton, that's us, right? That was not always the case. A lot of predominantly black areas today in the United States came through warfare, came through pioneer families infiltrating predominantly white areas and setting up through their business, their work ethic, being able to afford to live in these neighborhoods that now we just say, well, that's always been black. So I love the way them starts off by going into the history of the Great Migration, where our people infiltrated different areas, right? Moved to different areas to avoid where I'm at right now, y'all. Alabama is hell. I'm telling y'all, it is hell on wheels. Montgomery is the capital of that thing. I just got to tell you. Of white supremacy, of a stagnant mindset. But you can't escape the curses of Deuteronomy 28 anyway. But a lot of our people were going, we said, we got to get out of that, right? And they sought industrial jobs in these various locations. And this series traces a legit family. Y'all, this is based on a historical family, the Emorys, right? So we see the Emorys in September 14th. Let me make sure I got it right. September 14th, 1953, Henry and Livia, known as Lucky, that was her nickname, right? Lucky Emory moved from Chatham County, North Carolina to migrate to Compton, California. 3011 Palmer Drive. 3011 Palmer Drive. So this is inspired by a true story, family, of the Emorys, Henry and Lucky, moving from Chatham, and I'm gonna go into the reason why shortly, that they wanted to move from that whole area, that whole mindset, and an event that happens to their family to go to the West to escape all of that white supremacy and hopefully start a new life. So we see the Emorys migrating, and this series documents the 10-day span of the hell that they went through. I gotta tell y'all, in 10 days, all of this entire series took place within that 10 days. I'm telling y'all, the amount of hell they went through because of Satan. We're gonna see this, the demonic element, y'all saw in the clip, the demonic element, the cursed ground itself, and those white neighbors they had that were trying to get them out of there. All of this happened in 10 days. So family, we see when they get to this new way of life, they get to this new neighborhood, right? We see all these white people just watching. They trying to figure out who lives there. They trying to see, oh, and it's amazing how they love the idea of, I wonder, do they have kids? And do they have a daughter? Do they have a son? And as soon as they get out of the car, this Becky, or this, what was her name? Karen comes out. She's like the neighborhood watch, right? She's like the leading galvanizer, Elizabeth's character, right? So Elizabeth is like the head be in charge for the entire neighborhood, and she kind of leads different neighborhood watches and all that stuff, and she's just like the leader, right? She finds out that this is a black family and is livid and is pissed, and immediately starts trying to strategize on how to make life hell for the Emorys. Now, during this time, Mrs. Emory, Lucky, goes in and finds out that her husband had signed a covenant. That's what they called it historically, guys, where it said that certain neighborhoods were exclusive to Caucasian peoples, Edomite European peoples, right? And that if you had any ounce of Negro blood, you were forbidden to live in these areas. So Lucky is like, what the world? What's going on? Henry, you knew about this? And he had already talked to the real estate agent and said, well, if you can get us out there. Now, we're going to see the dark aspect of this real estate agent, because everything that she is doing is to be able to secure the bag. They're making money off of our people going into these areas, right? They're redlining a lot of, now y'all, this gets into the curses. This gets, not just that family, but this gets into critical race theory like we've been talking about. That every aspect of our people trying to be free within this society has created an equal and opposite reaction, almost like physics, right? To show you that racism, specifically against Zion, is the infrastructure by which this national superpower is built. You can only be what your foundation is. If your foundation isn't morally strong, isn't based on righteousness, you're going to see the crack in the wall. You're going to see the writing on the wall, if you will. And we see that every aspect of our people trying to run from the curses, it has hawked us down, stalked us down, right? As if it's methodical. It's the very will of the Most High Yah. And I say this, y'all, I know this is a dark truth, but it is truth. So we see that when they get to this home, that they start strategizing. We see that they issue a campaign where Becky, or Karen, Elizabeth's character, goes and galvanizes all of the white mothers, the stay-at-home mothers, and they sit down just to make life hell for them. So they wake up and they see lawn chairs in front of their house of all these white women just watching them. Not saying nothing but playing the radio. It's some dark stuff, y'all. So I'm gonna go through some other stuff that happens in this film, and then I'm gonna show y'all some profound clips that is just drives home that Satan knows who we are, the Europeans know who we are, and the spiritual element of the demon Satan has gained his authority because of our people violating the covenant of the Most High. We see that word covenant played off of the contract of white-only neighborhoods, but not just that. The covenant that this old man by the name of Hiram Epps gains immortality. Y'all check this series out. He gains immortality by making a covenant with Satan to make hell for them. And it's talking about us. Why does Satan hate us? I'm telling y'all, this stuff gets deep, and we're gonna go into that. That Satan knows who we are, and that little boy Miles is actually Satan, and uses this minister to pronounce the curses of Deuteronomy 28. Yes, family, in this series, Satan reads the curses of Deuteronomy 28 towards our people, and I'm gonna show that clip. So first, family, let's go through what happens in the movie. Basically, we see a lot of different scenes where the Emery family break down mentally. Now, Lucky's character, y'all, gets into some deep stuff. The show shows us that she was raped by a mob of white men, and this older white lady initiated the entire thing. We see this clip at the beginning of the film. Not just that, they take her son, her only son, her youngest child, and y'all, it's dark, and I don't even want to really mention it. They put him in a bag and they toss him to each other. Now, we know the baby does not survive that event. Family, a lot of this stuff white people do not want to deal with. A lot of them say they believe in the Most High, they believe in Christ, but they want to turn a deaf ear to this history. Truth has to be brought up. We got to deal with it, family. That's the only way society can heal. If the nations can be redeemed, we know they're going to fight against this. We know the Most High going to judge them anyway. But if just to be a witness against y'all, we have to bring out this truth and give you an opportunity to do right. Because that's going to be a witness against you when that judgment comes from the Most High. So we see, family, that this happens to Lucky. That they take her baby, and while she's being pinned down, raped, she's watching them toss her baby to each other. And these kind of things happen. This is inspired by a true story, family, that happened in 1953 to the Emery family. And it's a dark moment. So she's already mentally fragile, right? And that spirit, which used to be a minister, his name was Hiram Epps. He's actually a minister that lived back during the early, I think, 1700s. And during this time, he had a lot of hurt that happened to him. His wife died, his child died, and he meets this little boy that he does not know is Satan in disguise. And he adopts this boy, and this boy kind of is leading him behind the scenes. He eventually makes a covenant with this boy, and this boy, which is really Satan, says, make life hell for Zion. Make life hell for the Israelites, using the curses of Deuteronomy 28. I'm telling y'all. So this spirit affects Lucky. He begins to show himself, torment her in her dreams, in her sleep. When she goes into the basement, he kind of disguises himself as this old wicked white woman that also torments her child, Gracie. They have two older daughters, one named Ruby, who is the oldest, and Gracie, who is the second. George is the infant boy that we see was killed from that mob tossing him around, right? And this trauma is how the spirit of Satan plagues the mind of Lucky, has her do crazy stuff from time to time, y'all. Mentally unstable, takes an axe, almost tries to kill her family. And this is her foundation. Now, while she's going through this, Mr. Henry's character is tried. Now, this, historically, he was a medical doctor. But in this series, they portray him as an engineer. Now, he's this engineer that gets accepted into this big, massive engineering firm. But he finds out that those curses ain't going nowhere. A lot of his brilliance is not utilized. A lot of the understanding that he had for the blueprints, they take his idea and give it to white folks. He goes into the bathroom at one part, y'all, takes a bunch of napkins and just screams into it. This is the hurt our people have been going through. All of this was the curse of Deuteronomy 28. Understand, Satan knows this. This is why he uses our fall as power and authority spiritually, going all the way back to Adam's fall. That's a metaphor of Israel's fall, family. He uses the power of y'all gave up y'all birthright to rule through his family. So that's why these things have happened to our people. So Mr. Emery begins to see this black symbol, the most terrifying thing you will ever see, family. It's really a black character, but he has white paint on and black paint on top of that. Y'all, it's very deep about that character. Whenever Mr. Henry is demasculinated in public, at his job, from his boss, or in public, we see they go to purchase a new TV, and the white man, the salesman, makes a comment like, I know y'all are gonna enjoy this TV with the big family that y'all are known to have. And right when he says that, we see Mr. Henry kind of check out, and he looks on the TV to the side and sees that black Sambo dancing, right? Now, there is a lot of symbolism to that character and why Mr. Henry is seeing that. That character of blackface, right, represents the negative portrayal of our people, the negative stereotype of our people. Mr. Henry battles with the fear of giving in to this angry black man, this stereotypical monkey spirit that white folks have tried to place on us. Y'all can speak from their experience with this stuff. When our men, specifically Israelite kings, go into the workplace and are demasculinated, y'all, I live this. When you got your dreads and they talk about you, they make sly shade comments, and you know I got a cool feel, they're gonna blow up a building, they're gonna blow up a plane. Our people, our men have to endure this, but as natural leaders, as lions of Zion, that leadership in us feels at conflict to this boyish demasculinization that we have to deal with. So whenever he goes through moments like that, he sees this Black Sambo character. Y'all gotta hear what I'm saying. And he shows up to say, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? To almost pull out that anger that our people have, which is really created by white people. Because we see in the end that he finally shoots that image. And under that image was a white man the whole time, making us think that something's wrong with black folks. Black folks, they're monkeys, they're uncivilized, they're uneducated. All of those negative stereotypes. Oh, what you gonna do? You an angry black man, right? When they know they have created this negative hellhole of a world that we live in, and they know that it's hell for our people, and if we try to react, if we try to deal with the system, you're an angry buck. You're an angry black man. So Mr. Henry battles that spirit while Lucky is battering the spirit of the curse itself, because of the hurt that's in her heart for what happened to her son. Not just that, family, but we see Ruby, the oldest daughter. She always struggles with wanting to be white. Now, we understand she's a teenager, so she's in an impressionable, that's why y'all gotta teach your kids this history, family. We have to know that we are the kings and queens of the Most High. We are princes and princesses. We are royalty. We descend from the 12 tribes, the heirlooms of the Most High, the very glowing rubies and precious stones of heaven. We come from greatness, family. We have to teach this history. Our Moorish Israelite greatness, the most wealthiest man in human history, was a black man named Mansa Musa. They say he was the richest man when you look at the currency during that time, and his last name Musa goes to the Beni Musa of Morocco and North Africa that were Israelites. They don't tell you that part. The Beni Musa were numerous in Africa. So this kind of history we have to teach our children. If not, they're going to want to be like Becky. They're going to want to dye their hair blonde. We got to deal with that spirit. So we see Ruby struggles with that thing. And that same spirit of the curse, which is Hiram Epps, visits her by disguising himself. This goes back to the Garden of Eden. I told y'all, he did not show up as no serpent. He showed up as a glowing, beautiful image of what Eve wanted to see as a white person. I'm telling y'all. And this is what happens to Ruby. This glowing white girl says, you're beautiful for a colored girl. And if only you would put some makeup on, if you would do this, if you do that. So the spirit starts off by flattering her, but flattering her in a condescending way to convince her something's wrong with her to be like white folks. Y'all, this is the spirit that, oh, you gotta assimilate. Oh, Negro, you a buck. You gotta shave yourself to be professional. You can't come into the job acting like that with your dreads on. You can't be like that. That's not educated. That's not, oh, he must not be civilized, or he must come from prison. I'm telling y'all, they try to convince our people that being, and I'm so glad they passed that bill, y'all, but I don't trust an Esau system. I know a lot of y'all let me know they passed that bill about the dreads and that kind of thing, that they can't discriminate. But understand, they're not gonna really be able to enforce that thing. Folks are wicked. You can't mandate morality. You can't convince the power construct that exists today to truly accept our people. So they try to convince us something's wrong with us, and that's what Doris, which is really the spirit of the curse, Hiram Epps, goes to Ruby and says, you need to be whiter. You need to do this. You need to put some makeup on. Eventually this gets dark. Ruby goes into the basement of the school. She takes some white paint, family, and she puts white paint on her, goes to a pep rally that the school is having with the straight white folks, and she cheers in front of them. Y'all, it's the saddest scene in the entire movie, and it's the darkest to me, because it shows the fragility of a child being told that there's something wrong with them, when these white folks know that that Bible is the last puzzle piece, the last remaining orphan of a Negro world. They know that white Jesus that dominates the imagery of the earth was based off a black Judean, historically, named Yahusha. They tell you it don't matter. They tell you that doesn't affect you. But they show you a new white Jesus movie every single couple of months. And I was finna say every single year, but every 3 months. They got a white Jesus series when they say it doesn't matter, but you'll never see them spend a big budget on a black portrayal, a historical portrayal of the Judeans during the Roman occupation, those woolly-haired Negroes that we see historically. We see Tacitus, we see Josephus, all say were a dark, bronze-colored people. We'll never see them tell that truth. But they'll say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. You know, it's about his sacrifice and what he did. Well, if it don't matter, how come you can't tell the truth? You want our babies to think that God is this white person. If Yeshua was really that white person, our people have shown we have no problem with that. But the truth is, when we found out history, when we found out I am black but beautiful, when we found out my skin is black upon me, when we found out the 7 locks off Samson's head was cut, when we found out Moses was mistaken as Egyptian, when we found out that Joseph couldn't be recognized by his brothers, so he looked just like the Egyptians, when we found out that Paul was mistaken as an Egyptian, when we found out that Christ, by the discretion of the angel, fled into Africa to hide. Oh, the truth doesn't add up with the lie. And everything y'all have told us was really you taking our history, colonizing our identity, and portraying it as truth. It is truth mixed with falsehood, a lie. And I'm telling you, this affects our babies. So we see, and it breaks my heart to see Ruby having gone through that, but not just her. Lil Gracie goes through the same thing. She goes to school and starts to crack, right? She's doing this presentation, and she starts singing this dark song that we find out from the beginning of the movie came from the white woman that said, "Oh, Black Joe, we wish you were back." This old song that her father used to sing about the good old days when our people were slaves. This is the song that the old white woman sings to Lucky before she goes into the house and takes her baby, and y'all know what happens. So we get an implication that Gracie, the youngest child, is closer to her mother. She wants to be a teacher just like her mother. And she perhaps went into her mother's room from time to time, watched her mother sleep, watched her mother have a mental breakdown, watched her mother quote the song from what happened to her. So this eternalizes inside of Gracie, where she feels the hurt of her mother and it comes out of her in a place of brokenness. That's why, family, we have to be healed in this walk. We have to know our greatness. We have to stand strong for our babies to know there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with your woolly hair. There's nothing wrong with your bronze skin. Your people is Yahusha's people. Your people is Kepha's, Peter's people. Your people are the Judeans, the Yahudah people. Your people are the Yasharalites, the Israelites of the Bible. This is your history, and there's nothing wrong with you, baby. There's nothing wrong with you, son. We were the originators. We were the gods of this earth. And I know a lot of white folks, oh, there they go saying we was kings. They know the history, family. And it's a certain wicked spirit that continues to allow our people to dwell in ignorance, and white folks just allow it when they know this history. But we ain't asking for y'all to get a receipts. That's what your boy JB about. Yes! You rule Bob and I frame, because I'm going to bring it out on this channel, family, that we come from greatness. So all 4 of the Emery family are going through these various conflicts. We see so much happen in this series. We see that the boss of Mr. Henry announces a promotion or a raise that's going to the entire facility, and right then he sees Black Sambo. It's almost like Mr. Henry knew that this did not apply to him. He eventually asks his boss, he said, well, not you. And he plots to kill his boss, y'all. So we talked about what Doris is doing to Ruby. Mr. Henry, Grace is expelled from school. Her mother has to come get her. And eventually they find a little box. In that box is the remains of Lil George. Lucky had kept this box. Now this is not just physical but spiritual. She had not detached from the emotional hurt of what had happened to her baby boy. Because our people could not understand how a senseless, it doesn't even make sense why we have to go through what we go through. Now we know about the curses, we know prophecy now, but she could not fathom how this happened. And it did not have to happen. So she's clinging to it almost like, not my Georgie, not my baby boy. Why, right? And they end up locking her off into a mental institution. This is where we see the layers of Esau. I'm telling y'all, we got to deal with this. They have tried to gentrify that area, the neighborhood that they're living in. It is a plot of redlining where they're going through, I'm gonna set y'all up right. They're going through trying to sell houses to Negroes at an increased mortgage rate. Not just that, but they're capitalizing off if they can't pay the mortgage, they win by selling the houses at a double price. But if they can't afford it, they're paying this exuberant amount. Now I'm gonna show y'all a clip of that where they break down this strategy to gentrify neighborhoods, to redline neighborhoods, to cause our people to pay way more to live among white people. They're capitalizing off of that thing. So we're going from one captivity to the next. We're fleeing the South to run to the North and to the West, being met with a system when we got there. This is how you know it's spiritual, family. This is our Father trying to get our attention. Let's check that clip out.
So a few years back, West Compton, green as can be. Not a Negro, Mexican, or Jap in sight. But as you can see here, in less than a decade, the entire neighborhood's completely flipped. Red City. In fact, they had to build more housing just to accommodate all the Negroes who want to live there.
So, what are you prepared to do for us?
7% interest on loans for all properties Southland Trust Realty acquires.
7?
We can get 4 from SunTrust.
Glenn, don't bend us over on the interest here. Not with all the business we're about to toss your way.
You guys are going to sell the houses for double what you paid and charge what? 20% on the mortgages? Wait, you're charging Negroes more than 20%? There's no way anyone can get out from under that.
If your bank wasn't legally prohibited from lending to Negroes, you'd do the same.
Within reason.
6%, fellas, huh? Let's get this done. The city will approve any new Southland Trust development in East Compton once all the original owners have sold.
Not a given.
Tell me my fucking business. Chicago, Baltimore, Lansing,
Oakland, Seattle.
Now that was foresight. Move just one black family into a decent white neighborhood, and the other homeowners will throw money at you faster than you can count it.
Negroes aren't stupid. Given a choice, even they don't want to live among other Negroes.
Nothing more American than people willingly paying double for something they can't afford in the first place.
What happens once they realize they have been swindled?
Well, you could always ask Miss Koister if you could borrow a sanitary napkin.
If they make their mortgage payments, we win. If they default, we win.
Oh, you pray they miss their nut, and then you put those houses right back on the market.
At another markup.
And by this time, it's an all-Negro neighborhood.
An entire population of Negroes who can't secure traditional mortgages.
Do you need an abacus?
Uncle, 6%.
Oh, there you go.
What are we projecting?
Well, Miss Koistra's our man on the ground, as it were.
Yes. A good beginning. Just today, we flipped our second property within a 2-block radius. These families, especially Negro veterans, they are coming west in droves.
I'm sorry, 2 families in 2 blocks is droves? I thought you said she was a shark.
These families, they are coming and they are ready to buy, sight unseen. Just the 2 families for now, but I think conservatively, inside 6 months, East Compton's gonna look a lot like West Compton.
Look at the map. This is our rush of 49, and we've got the monopoly.
If I could just, I've been doing some research, and just to say it, Negro homeowners, when they move in, property values actually go up.
Right.
I'm saying, instead of creating this bubble that can't be sustained, ruining neighborhoods, people's lives, what if we offer mortgage rates that were competitive?
So family, I brought that scene up to show y'all that when Lucky gets to the mental institution, they had games set up. They knew black people were going into these white neighborhoods and losing their minds. Y'all, I didn't show some of these clips about Ella May and that kind of thing, where she cut the legs off her husband. We suspect that she killed her 2 boys, but it never really drops that nugget. Another family of a black woman pours bleach on her husband and on her son. We see that every black family that was going into these white neighborhoods was losing their minds. The ones that weren't dead after all of that, they were taken to these mental institutions and doping them up, where their minds were constantly in a vegetative state. Y'all, this stuff is dark. And those people knew what they had went through. They were driven mad. And then taken to a mental institution just to be drugged up even more. This is what they try to do to Lucky. She ends up breaking up out of that mug, y'all. And we see in the end that a flame of fire rises up, just like what happened in 1700s with Hiram Elps, and protects them from the law enforcement, the angry white neighborhood. Y'all, there's so much in this series. But what I want to end with and show you guys is the clip of the curses of Deuteronomy 28. That land in that white neighborhood was cursed because Hiram Epps, that spiritual manifestation of Satan that made a pact with Satan, that white minister that made a pact with Satan. I repeat, Hiram Epps, the white minister that made a pact with Satan to make it hell for God's people. We see the history of him in the 1700s, which curses the very ground that he did this wickedness on, and is the very ground that their neighborhood is built on. Y'all, this stuff is deep. In the 1700s, there was a black couple that came into the town of Hiram Epps. They were nice, they were cordial, and initially, Hiram Epps is trying to help these people. He has a good heart of love, but Miles says they're not right. They're stealing. And they weren't stealing anything. They were just staying there. The people begged them to stay because their wagon had broke down. They were showing them hospitality. Everything was going good. But as time goes on, Hiram loses his natural vision as he's listening to Miles, which is spiritual, that he was losing his ability to see clearly as he was listening to Satan. This ends with the whole mob getting Hiram to kill that family. Before that family died, they cursed that town. And y'all already know, the Most High said he will bless those that blessed his people and curse those that cursed his people. He has not forgot, family. I'm telling you, the earth is crying out for judgment. The blood that was spilled from the ground is pleading, how long, O Father? How long, O Creator of spirits, will you suffer the sons of men to continue this evil in the earth before your day arrives, before your judgment arrives? Just know, Zion, he ain't forgot. If we forgot tomorrow, if every Bible was burned, if every preacher stopped preaching his truth, if IUIC and all the camps were done away with, the Most High still ain't gonna stop his work. I'm trying to tell y'all, he don't need us. So y'all, I'm gonna show you this clip where Satan knows who we are. Even if nobody else talks about it, Satan knows because he know the Most High knows. And we're gonna see Mr. Hiram quote Deuteronomy 28. Your boy ain't making this stuff up. I showed y'all the clip about Deuteronomy 28. Are we the Israelites? Satan know this stuff. We did that video. We've been preaching this truth way before this movie came out. Let me show y'all that clip. Let's check it out.
Lord will afflict you with blindness and confusion of minds. He will exile you to a land unknown to your ancestors. You shall be mocked and cursed among nations, and your sons and daughters will each and all be led away into captivity. The Lord has made plain his desire for the African race. The Lord has set every people of the world against them. The Lord has painted the earth red with their fetid, cancerous blood. So we must punish them as the Lord commands. Blind them, he says. So we have blinded them.
Oh, family, we got to deal with it. Oh, man. Whoa, I can't let this moment go. I got to deal with this. And Deuteronomy 28, we gonna look at it. So in Deuteronomy 28, we gonna go through the precepts that he quoted. Oh, we ain't gonna let this pass. I got to deal with this. So in Deuteronomy 28, verse 28, it says, and the Most High Yah shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Oh, man. Ain't that what Mr. Hiram just said? That he will strike us with madness? Oh, let's keep going. Not just that did he quote. He also said, let's look at Deuteronomy 28:36. And it reads, the Most High Yah shall bring you and your king that you set over you unto a nation whether you or your fathers, your ancestors did not know, and you're going to serve false gods, that wooden cross of Christianity and that cobblestone of Islam. Let's keep going, y'all. Not just that, but he also quoted that you will become a mockery, a ridicule, a horror among all these nations. Where did he get that from? Deuteronomy 28 verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Most High Yah will lead you. Not just that, family. He went on a tear. In Deuteronomy 28:32, it said, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no strength, no economic power, no political power in thine hand to redeem your people. Oh man, we already talked about Deuteronomy 28:68, that you going into slavery on ships. We already talked about Deuteronomy 28:64, that you're going to be scattered to the four corners of the earth. We already talked about in Deuteronomy 28 where your enemies would come against you one way and you will be scattered different ways. The transatlantic went into Africa one way, scattered us to the four corners. We already talked about how you would have a yoke of iron around your neck. We already talked about how an eagle would come as swift as a nation would come as swift as the eagle flies. Oh yeah, the eagle of America that sets her nest in the stars, that lives in the clefts of the rock, the Caucasian Edomite people. We already talked about how Deuteronomy 28 ain't no playing no games. Moshe Hanavi, Moses the prophet, was a bad Negro. He knew thousands of years ago by the inspiration of the Most High that all of this would happen to Yah's people. But check this out, family. They like to say, oh, the curse of Ham on the Negro. We already showed, I'm going to put that on the screen, the Zondervan Bible Compact Dictionary, that Ham is the father of the dark races, not the Negro. Oh my God, but let's look at Deuteronomy 28, family. Who is this curse talking to? Oh no, we gonna deal with it. In Deuteronomy 28, go all the way back to the first verse. We gonna deal with this thing. And it shall come to pass that if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Most High Yah thy Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Most High Yah Elohim will set thee on high above all nations. Who is Moses talking to? He said, if you keep all these laws and statutes that I give you, you will be set above all nations. We see in verse 15 that if we didn't, we will be set below. But who is this? No, wait, I ain't gonna say we. We see that Moses, whoever he's talking to, he said, if you do what I give you from the mount, the laws, the statutes, the 10 commandments, the tablet stones, if you do this, you will be set above all nations. If you don't, you're gonna be at the bottom. You only got two options. But who is Moses talking to? The children of Israel. Last Yerubal Ephraim of the tribe of Joseph. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Moses talking to Israel. So why is Hiram, by the inspiration of Satan, using this curse that Moses pronounced on Israel to apply it to black people? From a spiritual standpoint, it would not hold in the legalistic courtroom of heaven. It would not hold legality and strength and judicial prowess if there wasn't a contractual agreement legitimately made with that people. That covenant, where them plays off the word covenant, that covenant was only made between the Most High through Moses for who? The children of Israel. Now family, a lot of y'all are like, we know this. I got to hammer this home for y'all that don't. This covenant was made with Israel. So Satan is able to use that covenant against, and he goes into more detail about the covenant that the Most High made with us. Oh, he goes into it when he talks to Lucky. He said the Most High, he says the Most High made a covenant with y'all people that y'all didn't keep. Wait a second. The Most High only made a covenant with one people. We see in Joel 2:27 that you only have I known of the sons of men, therefore I will. In Joel 2:27, we see that the Most High said, Israel, you only have I known. I am the Lord your God and nobody else, right? So who else did the Most High make a covenant with? He only made it with Israel. We see this even in the New Testament in Hebrews 8:8, which piggybacks Jeremiah 31:31, that the new covenant in those days was made with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. So if the covenant was only made with Israel, and he says the spiritual Satan to black people, you violated the covenant, what? And that's why I'm gonna put these curses on you. That means Satan knows we're the children of Israel. You don't need DNA. Oh, you don't need E1B1A. You don't need science. All this stuff I give you, archaeology, none of that. At the end of the day, that Bible knows who we are. The curse is going to find us. If don't nobody want to acknowledge it, it don't change the faith of the Most High to execute his will. And Satan knows that. Satan knows that he has power to rule through the Gentiles, to rule through Japheth's borders, to rule through Esau, because our people violated our birthright. Satan bamboozled us. Just like in the garden, he took our birthright. He finessed us. And now we're in captivity and he's ruling through his people. But we know that ain't the end of the story. I got to tell y'all, the gospel that Yahushua preached was, you shall name his name Yahushua. Matthew 1:21. For he shall save his people from their sins. He shall break the spiritual legality and the curse by which we were doomed in this cycle. He will redeem his people. We saw in Matthew 15:24 that he was not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. We saw in Luke 1:68-72 that blessed be the Lord God of Israel for redeeming, visiting and redeeming his people, that we being saved from our enemies, saved from being at the bottom, saved from worshiping these European Roman Edomites, that we being saved from our enemies might worship the Most High Yah without fear of being a terrorist, without fear of having your locks, without fear of saying I don't eat pork, without fear of having your fringes on, without fear. We see that was the purpose of the gospel. So y'all, I gotta stop right there, y'all, for this thing ended up being 3 hours. So family, y'all gotta take that series out. They know, the nations know. Whoever wrote this TV series knows that we the people. Satan knows. So don't let these crazy white folks and these sellout coons convince you otherwise. You are the daughters and the sons of the Most High Yah. You are his chief elect people. He ain't forgot about his people, family. So with that, family, peace, love, blessings, courage, empowerment, tact, relentless zeal, fervor, uncompromised. I speak all of that over my brothers and sisters, my Israelite family. Don't waver. Don't think there's something wrong with everything you're saying. Is by the inspiration of the Most High. Flesh and blood ain't showed you that thing. Your Most High, the Father of spirits, your Father, has showed you these things. So with that, family, I love you all. Y'all be blessed in the name of the Most High Yah. I love you all with the love of the Messiah. Shalom. All praises. Let's go.